Hi, I'm Nikita.
I'm Moses.
And you are tuned in to my prerogative podcast. And this morning we are going to be talking about dealing with an emotionally unavailable partner. So before we really dive into it, Moses, do you have any experience with this?
Before we dive even into that, I like your shirt.
Oh, thank you.
You want one?
I like your hat.
Thank you.
It's giving me sailor vibes.
I'm the captain.
The captain of what, though?
My ship.
Oh, okay.
My ship.
Cool.
Ship. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good answer.
I actually played a captain in Dungeons and Dragons last night, so you know.
Mm-hmm. So you're really committing to this character.
I am.
I like it.
Thank you, Captain Moses Williams of the SS.
Captain Moses Williams,
Black Panther of the SS Black Panther.
I love it. All right.
Have I ever been in this situation? Yeah, I definitely have. I've been the emotionally unavailable person before.
You?
Yeah. Moses went through quite an evolution. Took a long time to get to this point.
That's interesting. I don't peg you for the emotionally unavailable type of anything.
Unavailable. Maybe like emotionally inexperienced.
So are you saying like early 20-something Moses, or?
Yeah, like when I first started dating people, because I didn't really date anyone until I went to college, and I went to all boys school for high school, so I was very like inexperienced with the whole okay, what's being in a relationship actually like. I had no friends growing up, so that being that intimate with someone was very like new and like a big jump for me. Like, oh my god, I usually just hang out on my own and do my own thing.
Yeah. Now that you put it that way, I think we all. Well, I know me personally. I was emotionally inexperienced, and it could come off as emotionally unavailable or cold when I first started dating too. And it's because I was feeling these emotions and I didn't really know what they were because they were new, And so it's just and then I didn't really know how to express them because it was this is weird. So I think, So I don't know I don't think we would call that emotionally unavailable. I think that we can classify that as emotionally inexperienced. But as far as now that you're an adult, not fully actualized, but semi-actualized Moses, have you in your adult dating world ever experienced or been the emotionally unavailable partner? Or do you know someone? Because I know with me personally, I was not in this type of situation, but I know people very, very close to me who are in long-term relationships and are completely emotionally unavailable to their partner.
I've seen it before, for sure. But have I ever done it? Maybe. I don't know if this counts, but maybe I don't know if it counts also when you're about to break up with someone, because I feel like you're not emotionally unavailable. You're just slowly checking out.
I'm not even talking about them, because I definitely agree with you there. When the relationship is doomed and it's about to be over. Yeah. I think you start to kind of slowly detach. First it starts mentally. So, mentally you start to detach, and then emotionally, your emotions follow. But
because I think that really long relationship I had with my ex dance partner, I would say there was definitely a point where I think maybe both of us just became emotionally unavailable. But I think that's because we both kind of knew this is probably over, right? So I don't know if that counts, because I feel like it's not one person was trying to make it work and the other person wasn't. I think we both were I feel like we're both slowly checking out of this. So I don't think that's the same either.
That doesn't count. I'm talking about actually being in the relationship. There is no end in sight, but one of the persons in the relationship are emotionally detached or emotionally unavailable. That's never happened to me.
I've never done that. I've experienced that maybe once with that particular person. I think she probably checked out before I did. So I guess she was emotionally unavailable for a time. And that's when I started to figure out that maybe there's something going on. Like, she seems super distant. And I was like, okay. But other than that, like, no, I guess I've never done it. And that's the only time I've ever experienced it. I've known people who have done it, who have been in situations like that.
Okay, well, that's kind of like get on the same page as far as like what we define as being emotionally unavailable while in a relationship. Mm-hmm. And we can just kind of throw shit out there. But I would say like someone who gives mixed signals. Like 1 minute it's like, oh, I want to be romantic. I want to spend time with you. And then when it's actually time for that time to be spent, like they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, let's not do it. Or they're like, super weird about it and kind of mess up the vibe. So that could be one. Not displaying affection for your partner.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen that before. I don't know if I'm going to... That's the thing. Every time I've seen it, there's always like some underlying reason where it's like, oh, well, this person was also just, they were emotionally unavailable and they were just cheating. So it's like, oh, like what came first, the chicken or the egg? Were they emotionally unavailable because they're cheating? Were they cheating because they were emotionally unavailable? It's like, wonder which one came first.
What about not really wanting to like open up and be vulnerable while you're in a relationship with someone?
I think that's pretty common for early relationship people. Like your first one, maybe two, might be hard to do that because it's like being emotionally vulnerable is not easy.
It's not easy.
Like I feel like if you've never been in the scenario, people are like, it's easy, just open up, be yourself. That's hard. That's scary. That's a scary thing to do. Like if you've never done it before, it's like, well, just tell me your deepest feelings.
Why do you think it's so scary though? Like if that's like genuinely, truly who you are, like, do you think that it's scary because we may feel like we're exposing the real us? Like we always want to lead with our best foot, and so when it's time to like talk about the ugly things, like
I don't think so. I think it's more of a defensive instinct where it's like if you reveal all, it's like it's animalistic. Reveal all of yourself, and that person hurts you. It's just gonna hurt. Like,
but isn't that the nature of a relationship? Like, if you want to fall in love and you want to really have this emotional connection with someone, like, you have to take that risk. Like, it comes with the territory. So,
but it comes with the territory, but that doesn't dismiss the fact that it is, like, a scary thing and, like, a scary thing to do for a lot of people. Like, it's not easy to do.
Right.
Because, like, that is maybe, like, top 5, like, at least, like, on the mental, emotional side, things to do where it's like, I'm going to truly just be vulnerable. Stuff like that. That's not easy. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying, like, you can learn how to do it, but, like, in the beginning, that's not easy. Mm-hmm. It's not an easy thing. Because, like, I think we talked about it last podcast. Like, society definitely conditions you a bit to, like, defend that side of yourself to where it's like, when... Like, if I reveal myself and someone makes fun of me or someone hurts me, it's like, oh, shit. Now I'm hurt and I feel stupid.
But it's like, the thing about it is, like, if someone, like, I feel like as an adult, we come to a realization or a knowingness that if someone, like, taunts another person or if they bully someone or if they, like, throw something back in their face, like, it shows more of the insecurities and the limitations that they feel about themselves. And it's not so much anything about the person that they're, emotionally abusing, but it's
true.
So, but still, in all knowing that, it's still like hard to be emotionally vulnerable.
I learned a long time ago, like when someone insults you, it's a battle between your two frames, meaning like there's this image you have of yourself, and an insult is challenging that image to see which one of the two will break first.
There you go.
And so being vulnerable gives someone a free bypass past that entire stage. Like, I'm not going to there's going to be no frame. Like, I'll just open the door. Here's me. And, like, it takes a lot of trust because you're like, hey, what if this person hurts me now? Like, gotcha, Moses. Gotcha, stupid.
Okay.
Because that's like the game society teaches us to play. It's like, Moses. Like, if someone says, Moses, you're ugly.
Throw the jab again, Moses.
They go, they go, gotcha, stupid. It's a Moses jab. It's quick. Goes right for the solar plexus. Then I give you the or the
No, you have to do like a matrix, block that shit. Like, you thought you had me. Like, I was lying. I don't really care.
I don't give a shit. Like, here's the deepest part of me. It's a void. It's right. It's nothing. There's nothing in it.
You're going to punch straight through. There's nothing there.
Just a void. It's like, I'm empty inside. But, it's like, like, Moses, someone says, Moses, you're ugly. It's like, like, that could mean absolutely nothing to me if I'm comfortable in the frame I create of, like, I'm not. Like, I'm me, I'm cool. And so, like, that's how insults can bounce off you, sticks and stones. But it's like, okay, here's everything about me. I'm super vulnerable now. Let me tell you everything. It's like, Moses, now I know you're the deepest button to push. Like, beep, which got me.
Yeah, it sucks. It's fucked up. All right, so let's bring it back a notch. Like, why do you think some people are emotionally unavailable to their partner?
Obvious reason, I guess, would be they probably don't like them.
Damn, I don't think so. Because, like, why stay in the relationship? There has to be something there that person is, like, getting from the spouse in order to stick around. So I don't think...
Maybe they give them some practical benefit. Maybe they're too weak to leave them. I don't know.
I mean, I would think that it stems from, like, childhood trauma, maybe.
Doesn't it always?
Right? Or, like, some type of trust being broken from, like, a previous relationship that, the person didn't get over yet. But I think, like, ultimately, like, it stems from fear. Some people have, intimacy issues where they fear intimacy. They fear being heard, like we just said, or being judged, or being really seen for who they are and not that person that they try to portray. So it's like, they want to keep that mask and that shell around them. But but ultimately, I think, like, it has to come from, like, past experiences, or maybe even nurture. Because do you think, like, anyone is naturally emotionally unavailable? Like,
sure.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. Because, I mean, emotions at their core are just, like, are physical in nature. So, like, I'm sure someone could be just naturally, like, I just don't feel emotions, like, the same way as, like, a normal person would. I think someone could just be like...
Okay, hold up. So what is a normal person emotional intelligence? Like, what is that?
I mean, essentially, like, I guess the way I think to answer the question is, like, could someone's brain release, like, less of a chemical so they don't feel, like, a certain emotion as much as, like, another person? Like, sure. I think
that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying, though.
Okay. Did I get too technical?
No, I think that you're taking it somewhere else, only because, like, some people are overly emotional, some people are just, like, emotional, and some people are less emotional. I'm talking about where you're completely emotionally unavailable and you're withdrawing from this person, but you're in the relationship with them.
Like, that's just, like, who you are at your core or something. Like, you're just like, I don't like intimacy.
Yeah. Do you think that it could be naturally, like, that's just who that person is? Or do you think it stems from, how that person was raised?
Both. That's always both.
Maybe like what, like a psychopath or something.
I mean, and yeah, I guess like that too. Like it's a combination of like a lot of people have natural psychopathic or sociopathic tendencies, but no, not everyone's going to be a murderer. It's like it also has to nurture and nature have to combine to say, okay, this was the perfect storm, and now you're now you're doing what?
Okay.
But because like you can never separate nurture from nature unless someone just lives. But no, it's literally impossible. It's impossible because nurture is always going to play into the causality of it all. Where it's like, hey, how did you grow up? What did you experience? Like, you can't really separate your sense of self from the environment around you because that plays into your sense of self.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, the nature and nurture can't be separated. So, it's learned behavior to a certain degree, but, like, there is, like, maybe a natural inclination to a certain type of behavior where it's like, okay, this happened to me, and now I feel like I am going to pull away from intimacy more than someone else might, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think that makes, perfectly good sense. I guess my question is like, what does it take for someone to stay in an emotionally unavailable,
like as
kind of volatile relationship? Because when I think of someone who's emotionally unavailable, I think of the relationship being always like hella volatile.
Maybe.
So like, I don't know, like what would cause one to want to stay? What do you think?
I guess we could say maybe their lives are so intertwined at that point that it would be at least a little bit difficult to leave. Like we live in the same place or something, and it's like, hey, if we leave, like one of us, let's say like you live together at the apartment or the house, and the other person's name's like, oh, if I break up with you, I have to find a new place, move out. It's a lot of work. Maybe it's the idea of what this person used to be. Like, oh, you used to be so fun and all that. Maybe that's still in there.
Yeah. Damn, I think that kind of like plays into like what we were talking about last week, but yeah.
That's where I referenced it from my head. It's like, oh, we talked about that last week. Like, hey, maybe this idea of the person I fell in love with, maybe that's still in there somewhere. Maybe that even comes out in bits and pieces, like flashes, and it's like, hey, it's like a little, like there's this carrot on the stick. Like, oh no, there's still some fun to be had here. It's like, hey, maybe we'll need more of it. Maybe more. Like, oh my god.
And maybe that just becomes a new norm. So maybe, because I don't think that, do you think that you can really help who you fall in love with? I don't think you can.
No. Well, not really.
I don't think you can, because if you're really letting go and let love live, like you can't, like if you have that connection with that person, regardless of, the fucked up shit that person does or their fucked up ways, like if you emotionally connect something with something in that person, I don't think that you could kind of pick and choose who you fall in love with. I think that yeah, okay. When I said pick and choose, because I think sometimes you can fall in love on purpose just because, oh shit, I want to be in love. But I think like when it naturally happens, regardless of the other person, I think that,
I think we've all had that person where it's like, damn, why do I like you so much?
I know, right? Like you are so
why do I like you? Right?
What is it about you? Like you have nothing going for yourself.
That's the exact line. Like,
what does it say about me?
I think we've all just said that one line for like, there's just something about you. Like she's my guilty pleasure. It's just something about her.
Exactly. It's just something about yeah.
When she's like, Moses, come do this. And it's like, I shouldn't. but there's something about her.
But I'm going to do it anyway.
I'm gonna go, but there's something about her. I can't say no to this person. I think we've all experienced that once in our life, at least once, where it's like,
That's that whole where that song, if loving this is wrong, I don't want to be
exactly.
right. That's like where it comes from, because
there can't be this many R&B songs about this one scenario to not be like, we're all experiencing this. Like, there's just something about her. She's not good for me. She's a little toxic, but you know what? I don't know.
She can't stay away.
Can't stay away.
Yeah.
I want some excitement in my life.
That's interesting. I kind of like want to explore that more on a more, not on the show right now, because I really have to think about it. But yeah,
there's a few stories about that.
What's up?
Moses experiences quite a bit.
I feel like you're the toxic one, and people are like, oh shit, like I just it's just something about him. I don't know what it is, but this motherfucker.
I don't know. Or maybe I was gonna say I'm not the toxic one, but is that something the toxic one would say? Like,
there you go.
Like, what's that saying? Like, if you're like, oh, everyone in my friend group loves me, and you're the one they don't like or something.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not the toxic one. It's like, nah, he is. He probably is.
You're the one everyone wants to avoid. Yeah.
What? No, people love me. That's what I'm saying. People love me. Like, we don't. He just shows up. No. Well, sometimes. See, I'm self-aware. So I've been that person sometimes.
I mean, I think that we all have toxic tendencies.
Yeah.
And we've all been in both seats of this type of scenario where, it's a point in your life when somebody kind of, meets you and you're the fucking toxic one and they are not, and you kind of pull them in your bullshit, and then, the roles are reversed. I think it's
toxicity, I feel, is cyclical.
Yeah.
when the toxic side of your life is coming. It's like post breakup, you become a problem. It's like, you know what? Let's let the world burn.
I feel like at a certain age, because I feel like everyone shows grace for like people in their early 20s when they're doing like all this toxic bullshit in relationships. And it's like you get past because you're young, and we all do it. So I think it's like a window of opportunity that you can kind of get a pass for being toxic. And then like if you kind of display those behaviors and kind of emotionally fall and spin out of control in like your mid to late 30s, like it's not as I want to say not attractive, but as acceptable. So
maybe I think it's weirder to be toxic when you're older.
It is hella weird. It's not a good look. That's what I'm saying. It's like, damn, like you still fighting over that nigga at fucking you like about to go fight somebody?
Like, you're still toxic, Moses? Like, yeah. Like, now it's like, I'm super chill. It's like, yeah, I don't got time for
it's like,
being a toxic 20-year-old anymore.
Right. Like, are we still prank calling this person? Are you still like having one of your girlfriends call him and act like they meant to see what his reaction was going to be? Like, hey, this is Keisha. Keisha who? Keisha.
We met in this?
I've done it all.
Okay. I was like,
yeah.
Damn.
I've done it all.
I haven't gone that far. No.
Yeah.
We'll talk about this next stream. Next stream, we're just going to reveal, we're going to have a contest. Who was the more toxic? Back in the day.
Yeah.
Moses been the time. It's easy to predict when it will come. Post relationship, post breakup, give me like 4 months. I'll just cause trouble.
Wait, 4 months in the relationship?
No, after breakup.
After, okay.
Relationship ends, it's like, I'm just going to go be a problem. Let's let the world burn, who cares?
It's going to be a menace to society.
Right? Like, let me see how many people I can trick with these jokes and these smiles.
All right. So, do you think that emotionally unavailable people actually fall in love?
Maybe in like a weird way. I could imagine maybe like a weird scenario where they have like their own strange version of love. Maybe it's more like possession, but like maybe it's toxic, but like maybe they have like a weird version of love.
Or, I mean, I'm thinking about it in a different light to where it's like when we talk about the scale of vulnerability, and some people are more vulnerable or more emotional, and some people are less. Some people fall on that middle scale. Probably the majority of us do. And so, what if like these people that we're referring to as emotionally unavailable are emotionally available, but it's just their version of it. And then like we know this coming into it, and we kind of like want them to change, and it's kind of selfish for the other person involved to kind of like try to get more out of this person and make this person kind of come more, you know, out of their shell or their level of comfortability. And that's not really who they are. Like what they're giving you is all that they have to give, and it's not enough for you, but you don't want to leave, you stay. And so now all of a sudden it's something wrong with this person, when really this is how this person has always been. The only change, this person is constant. The only variable is you, because now you want more emotional connection, and it's just not really who this person is. So like, what do you think about that?
I mean, sure. Like, just kind of like understanding like how that person loves can like, because I guess everyone is not emotionally unavailable in like the same way, right? There's no like telltale like you're doing X, Y, Z, but you're clear textbook emotionally unavailable. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure it's different for everyone. And you have to kind of figure out the nuance of like, okay, is this person emotionally unavailable, or are they just different than what I'm used to? Or are they just, you know, different strokes for different folks?
Yeah, that that too. But then too, now that I'm thinking about it too more, I feel like as the relationship progresses and it grows, the people in the relationship should also evolve. And so like if you're still the same way that I met you 10 years ago and you're still like, you know, only giving me so much, like I don't think that that's also fair to the other person in the relationship. So it's kind of like, tricky.
It's kind of like when I teach my dance students. When you dance with one person versus when you dance with another person, like you're going to make certain changes, or you can't dance the same way with a whole other couple. It's like I had a student yesterday. He danced with another female student. Then he had another lesson with another one. He's like, it's crazy how much I have to change between lessons. Like, when you dance with someone, it brings out a whole new side of you, and then slowly over time, as you guys meld your styles together, you become a singular new entity. Like, oh, you're no longer these two people trying to dance. Now you're this couple making this piece of art. So like it's I think of it like, I think relationships like that too, to where like Moses and ex-girlfriend number one versus ex-girlfriend number two, those relationships are so different, brought out whole different sides of each of us. You can't look at them all as the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're gonna slowly create something new with every single person you're with. You can't really predict what it's going to be.
So who really gets the short end of it, though?
If I could think of it in dance terms, because I think dancing and relationships are basically the same thing. On one hand, it depends on who is willing to change the most. Like when you're in a new partnership and your styles start to collide and like try to figure out how to mesh. On one hand, it depends on who's going to give the most. Like, am I going to change my dancing to make this work? Are you going to change your dancing more to make this work? Or, like, are we going to have, like, a compromise where we talk about this and check in and like really see like, hey, I want to do this on this move. I want to do this on that. You want to do this on that move. Like, let's figure out how to make it work, how to make it look good. See, painting, this is why Moses is such a relationship guru, because he just teaches dance all day. Because there are selfish partnerships. In fact, you can see in a partnership who is more selfish in the dance world just by looking at the way they move. It's like, who's playing the support and who's the star of the show? You could tell, like, all right, like that guy, total drama queen. I can tell by the way their partnership is set up. She's barely doing anything, and he's dancing around, doing all the cool stuff. Like, I know exactly what their dynamic is. Or the opposite, like, the guy just in the background, he's just the rock, being stable, just supporting her, doing all the cool stuff. It's like, okay, I see. Like, he gave up his flash to let her be the star. I like that. I like that.
Okay. That's a pretty interesting way to look at it. When you were talking about it, it kind of like something kind of went off. Yeah, clicked, whatever. So I feel like I was an emotionally unavailable partner all the way up until maybe a couple years ago. So yeah, because I wouldn't give, I wouldn't budge like this, but and I wasn't safe coming out of my shell. I wasn't safe. I felt like really exposed, and it was almost like impossible to do because, you know, I was the only person around to protect me, or that's what I felt like. It was completely not true. But, you know, I don't think that there was anything that other person could have done to make me, you know, kind of come out that shell and be more vulnerable and be more open in the relationship, because I didn't feel like it would last. And so because I didn't feel like it would last, I didn't feel safe. And so I think the best thing that could have happened, which was we went our separate ways. And this was like multiple partners too. But I think emotionally unavailable people are just, they don't feel safe. If I'm thinking about myself, and it's like, we don't feel like maybe there's no one else around to protect us, so we have to protect ourselves. And, you know, I think the best thing that anyone could have done for me when I was in those relationships and I wasn't ready to be vulnerable was to let me be, like, leave me.
I think interesting thing that clicked for me is like, when you were talking is, I think whenever I was in a stage where maybe I was like that, like felt the same way you did, and like was emotionally unavailable, I think I knew to stay single. Because when I think of like, I felt that way before, and I said to myself, I'm just going to stick by myself.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I knew better. I think for the most part, I was single, but there would be those instances where I did meet someone and I felt like I could go that distance with this person. And then when it was like time to go there, like I completely shut down because of, you know, past traumas that I wasn't healed from. So if I've learned anything from my past, I would say fucking stay away from people who are emotionally unavailable because they're just not ready. And it's not anything wrong with them. It's just they're not ready, and there's nothing that you can do to make this person feel safe and feel comfortable with you, because it has to start with yourself. And until you can be safe with yourself and be vulnerable with yourself, like it's impossible to do that with anyone else. Oh shit, I just learned something. Like, that is why all of my relationships failed. You know, it was me.
Hello? Yeah, sexy. We got her. We got her. You can send the money to my Venmo. We got her.
I mean, I don't know. This is very cathartic for me right now.
I've been a sleeper agent this whole time. It's a no, just get her to say it on camera. I'm the best.
Yeah, but I feel like, right. So I feel like now I'm like finally at a point in my life where I am comfortable and I feel safe with just being me. Like, I am enough. There, like, you know, even if you strip away all of my accolades and my successes and, you know, my accomplishments, like, I can still stand and feel like I am enough and worthy. Fuck you, Moses. look at me being vulnerable. It's like motherfuckers like you that make it hard for people to be vulnerable.
I had to prove the point.
I knew you were the toxic one in the relationship. I told you.
Like, Moses, I'm having a moment. Why did you undercut it with humor? Because that's who I am.
I know, right?
I saw the window for comedy and I took it. I'm just kidding. That was a very
of course. Fuck very, you. It was not powerful. A speech.
It sounded like a speech. In a good way. In the best way. In the best way. I was like damn. Like, we're recording, right? All right. This is going to inspire somebody someday. Like, yeah. Maybe. I heard a My Prerogatives podcast. And then Moses ruined it. We can cut Moses out.
Okay, so I have a question for you then. Like, do you think that you can change an emotionally unavailable person?
Like, through my actions, can my actions spawn a change in them? Mm-hmm. The Disney movie fan in me says yes. There's maybe. You know, the romantic in me is like, I'm sure it's possible. The realist in me says, you know, probably agree with your answer. Probably not. I mean, the technical philosopher in me says, maybe. Because, like, you know, maybe your actions can inspire them, something in them to change. Like, you know, everything has a cause and effect. Everything has to spawn from something that happens to someone. So, like, maybe. I think it's incredibly vague and hard to pinpoint what that would be. So it's almost like it's super inconsistent, but sure, maybe. I'm sure someone out there has a Disney Channel story that's like, I did. With the power of my love that inspired them. It's like, I like that.
I mean, but what you said is like 100% true. We navigate and we kind of draw towards people because of something in them that our soul needs and desires and see a reason to connect with for growth. And so you probably can't directly affect that person in the relationship because that person has to click. They have to kind of come out of it and kind of dwell on it, and then they grow and they change from there. But you can indirectly impact someone's life, or directly too, and kind of cause them to change. Go ahead.
I think to answer your question, thinking about it outside of the context of a romantic relationship, actually, I'll keep my answer the same, but I have experienced at least attempting to do this a lot, because as a dance teacher, that's almost like the point of the job. Is like people come to you and want to make a change in their life, but they maybe don't know how, or they're hesitant or afraid and don't want to be in like this incredibly vulnerable scenario, or maybe want to escape some strange scenario that's happening outside in the outside world and say, hey, Moses, like, I want you to try to change my life. And it's like, I noticed we used to talk about in the studio that everyone attracts different types of students. And I would always get the, to put this in a nice way, the depressed students.
I hope none of your students are listening to this.
I hope they're not. Oh, wait, no. Actually, a lot of my followers follow this now, right? So some in there like, what did Moses just say? He thinks I'm depressed? I had two in particular. Two students. I'm not going to say their names. They're going to remain unnamed. But the two of them were very, very shy, very introverted, had a lot of stuff going on, like a lot of bad stuff going on in their outside lives. And I feel like you said, like the vibe I put out attracted them in the sense of like, hey, like Moses is seems like such a bubbly, fun, positive guy, and like I think I want to try to put that energy in my life to kind of like spark a change. So I guess in that sense, it reminded me of what you said, where it's like maybe like indirectly, like my actions like spawn something within them to start changing and growing. Because after I knew them, slowly, the longer in their lives, they did start to like start changing things. It started to like become more happy, pick up. And I'm not saying it's all me. I think it's the dancing as well, because dancing is just a beautiful, fun experience.
It is.
But one of them is still my student today, and like she's still moving on the upward trajectory. The other one is actually a student I still think about a lot. Aww. Because it was the opposite. Because I feel like no matter what I did, and I love this student. These are like my two favorites, probably because like I just connected with them on such an emotional level. But the other one, like as much as I tried, like I just couldn't pick her up.
Okay, well that's interesting because it made me think. Like, do you think directly or indirectly impacting someone has a bigger impact on that person? So like, do you think that if you like directly are like in their face and saying, hey, this is what you need to work on, or maybe you should consider, doing X, Y, and Z in order to achieve the outcome that you desire? Mm-hmm. Do you think that more so causes people, they can do one or two things, but do you think it more so causes them to actually try and kind of get outside of their comfort zone in order to change? Or do you think that more so causes them to kind of go inward and close off even more? Or do you think just by you being who you are and just living your life, not even like trying to tell them how to live theirs, do you think indirectly impacts them even more? If that makes sense.
I guess all three are correct to us depending on the person, because like
well, they're all correct, but I'm saying like which one do you think has the most effect on change?
I can't say.
I would say indirectly.
Because I've seen all of them work depending on the person. Because like, so I can't say, I can't put one over the other because like it really does depend.
I guess for you then. For you, how about for you?
Indirectly.
Indirectly for me too. Yeah.
I don't like people telling me what to do.
It's not even that. I just feel like for me, when people are more so in my face, like, oh, let me tell you what your problem is. Like it causes me to clam up even more. But if you're just living your life, and I'm like, damn, Moses is so awesome. He's so open. He's so like out there with his emotions. I want to be more like that. I'm going to start, taking steps towards being more, open with my feelings and, who I am and just going for it. So don't worry about Moses. That's his narcissistic.
I want to thank the Academy for this award. Just everyone follow your dreams. You can be up here just like me. The greatest award ever. But no, I agree. For me, it's especially because my parents are like that. They're the opposite. They're like, Mo, we're going to tell you exactly what to do. It's the right thing to do. You're going to do it. So I think that just like everyone in my family, every single adult in my family is like that, and they, put that pressure on me all my life. Like, you're Moses the third. Like you have all these great things you have to do, and it's like it really did spawn. Like I don't like people telling me what to do. So it's like just let me indirectly choose for myself to change. Don't try to like force me or just tell me, no, you have to do this. Even if it's the right thing, let me figure it out.
Yeah, indirectly inspire me. Yeah. Don't be in my fucking face.
It's like, even just the best thing, like, let me figure that shit out. Don't just tell me.
I think that's the best way to kind of learn is when it kind of clicks on your own. And it's like, because experience is the best teacher. So you still have to, even if somebody say, don't touch that, the stove is hot, you still have to touch the stove to figure out that it's hot to not do it. So, I mean, you know.
Have you ever seen the movie Inception?
No, I don't think I have, but you make me want to watch it.
You need to watch it. This exact line you said was from it's like the premise of the movie. Do you know the premise of Inception? Like, basically, Inception is the concept of putting a thought in someone's mind through dreams. And so the way they do it is like, oh, why can't we just tell like the person's subconscious, just do this? They're like, no, the thoughts get the idea goes deeper and sticks more if we convince the mind that it thought of it itself. So it's like indirect versus direct, where it's like, we can't just tell the mind to do it. We have to somehow convince the mind that it thought of the idea. It's like, exactly.
Oh, okay. That
like,
seems really hard. That seems really hard to do. I feel like a lot of women, when they talk about how they control their husbands, like, this is the shit that they talk about. I give him the idea, but I have to make him feel like and believe that he came up with it himself, but it's really my idea.
Because it works. Guys are simple. That works. That would work on me. That would work on me. 100%. That would work on me.
I can really see you, like, feeling like you the man, too. Like, look at this wonderful idea I came up with. It just works.
I see it happen with my dad, my mom all the time. My mom's like, you're just like your dad. It's like, whatever. Whatever. We got the same name. You like him a little bit.
Right. All right. So that is all I have. I think this is a really good place to end. Do you have any last thoughts, Moses?
And before I go, I just want to thank my award speech continued.
Bye.
Play the music, get them all.